Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Freedom and Truth. And again, I do know it has been a long time since I've done um, a video on my channel, not on purpose, but I have found that in this journey of connecting and dealing with things that I have ran from. Essentially, I've not wanted to deal with it because the truth of it um, is a harsh reality for me. And as things have continued to transpire and happen, I just, my coping mechanism has been to isolate myself and to not deal with it, to continue in life and continue to push. However, even in that, I realized that this is a form of therapy for me to share my experiences um, for the sole purpose of helping someone else. Um, because I am a Christian, because I do believe in God, I understand that we overcome by sharing our testimony. We overcome the world, and the world tells us to keep our mouth shut, to, you know, oh, you're going to be judged or you're going to be criticized. Well, the truth be told, they do that anyway. So I feel as if me sharing my experiences, the raw truth of it, that means the good, the bad, the ugly, and the different on all sides. Um, and how I've dealt with it and how I've learned to cope with it as well as deal with it. Cope with it, means like this is just what goes on. So I have to cope with it. But dealing with it means how it's affecting my life, how it has affected and impacted my life. So in this video, I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible, but I can guarantee you if you stay to the very end, you'll learn something. If it doesn't fit your life, you'll be able to share this video and tell someone else about this video so that they can maybe take some nuggets and pull something from this to help themselves. So today I'm just going to share with you. This is June the 9th. Today is June the 9th. I know last month was Mental Health Awareness Month, and my desire was to post this video um, at the end of the month to close out Mental Health Awareness Month. But obviously, I didn't get around to doing it for whatever reason. So here I am today. But just my disclaimer, this is in no way to, the sole purpose rather of this video is to share my experiences, because a lot of times we can prejudge people or judge people because of their outward appearance or because of whatever um, exterior thing. Um, and the reality of it is that this out here doesn't speak to what goes on inside of you. And I was at a point in my life, this was about 11 years ago in 2010. Single parent, love my son. He is an amazing, amazing young man. I will always um, give him kudos, give him accolades and props per se for being the upstanding man that he's becoming. And I have to say that also because I did a good job in raising him by myself. Um, and I don't ever want that to be lost because, we can look at our children and, sometimes, and I'm just going to speak for myself. Um, we have to remain committed and stay committed to the process of dealing with our issues so that our children, so these generational curses, these toxic patterns, they do not continue to pass on from generation to generation. I heard when I was, before I was even a teenager, what goes on in this house stays in this house, meaning you can't talk about certain things. And if you do, you're going to be condemned, judged, or hated, or whatever. If you talk about what goes on inside your home, like things that you dealt with, things that you've gone through. And I never liked that saying, because if what goes on in the house and what went on in the house hurt me and I need healing, why can't I talk about it? Yeah, there's always the possibility that people are going to gossip, but trust and believe, when somebody wants to gossip, they're going to find something to gossip about. You got people that even make up lies and spread that as gossip like it's the truth. But that doesn't speak to me. That doesn't determine who I am as a woman, as a mother, and everything else that represents who I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, you know. None of that, what other people do, doesn't define who I am. And it took me, I wasn't, it wasn't until I was in my late 30s, I would say around 38, 39, because a lot of stuff was going on, which I'll get to. If not in this video, it'll be in another video. But going back to 2010, it was rough. It was rough. I was a single parent, and I make no excuses for anything. And this is not to be like an excuse type thing. Well, feel sorry for me or feel pitiful or give me pity. No, keep that, save that, because I never liked that kind of stuff. And that's one of the reasons why, for many years, I never talked about um, what I was dealing with, because of some things that happened to me when I was much, much younger, like in elementary school. Um, and I'll just go ahead and put it out there. When I was, I think I was in second grade, I was hit by a drunk driver, and it was terrible. I thank God for my life, because He spared my life. That was in 1985. I was 7, because it happened in April of 1985. I was hit by a drunk driver, and it wasn't like a car, it was a Salvation Army van. And it was, like I said, I thank God for my life, because after everything that happened to me, I'm not supposed to be sitting here, because it was pretty bad. Um, and maybe one day I'll share that a little bit more in depth. But for the sake of time for this video, um, once I was discharged from the hospital, I needed a lot of attention. Like, seriously, because I couldn't walk. I had to go through speech therapy again because I had brain damage, and some of my cognitive skills. I was being fed, I had a feeding tube, and I had to be put on a ventilator. This was, of course, when the accident happened. But it was pretty intense, and I needed a lot of help. I had a broken leg, my left leg was broken, and 7 years old. How do you handle that pain? How do you know how to properly? So there were moments where I just cried because I couldn't be around a lot of noise. So going to church and a lot of noise. Oh my God. The headaches was just, oh, it was a lot. It was a lot. And not just that, but just the reconnecting with my friends, because I was in the second grade and I had friends, and just that whole journey for me um, was was trying because of the brain damage that I endured from the accident. A lot of stuff was hard for me, but I was determined to get back, to get better, to keep improving, to not need help, because I was always told, oh, you just want the attention. It was always that kind of thing that I was constantly told on a day-to-day basis. Oh, you're just um and if you've ever had a broken bone, when the weather changes, your body is going to feel that shift in the climate, in the weather. Your bones are going to ache. And at 7 years old, I didn't know how to handle that. So I cried. And a lot of times in the beginning, once I had the cast removed, it really did hurt to walk on my leg. I mean, like literally, someone had to carry me. And it's not like, oh, let me cry. Let me pretend like I'm in pain so I can get some attention and then be judged for it. Who would do that? I mean, I legit was in pain and legit needed some help. Um, and it was just, that was every day for a long time. Again, that happened in 85 and I was 7. Um, I, it was that intense. But, but going back to 2010 and how all of that ties in, um, as a single mother, I cringed at the idea that I had to get help from someone. It was like scraping your fingernails across a chalkboard. That's what it was like for me, because I didn't want anybody else to be able to say, well, I did this for Jennifer. She can't do this. Because I was always, and the reason why I spoke about the accident when I was 7 is because to show you the pattern and how it all just kept piling up over the years. And I'm in my mid 40s now. And the pattern, you know, um, the pattern is what has contributed to affected my mental health. Now, I'm just going to put a pin there for a second and go ahead and deal with the stigma that if you say that you're having a mental health issue, that doesn't mean you're crazy. Because in society, crazy is defined as what we see on TV. When people have these manic episodes and it's just that. No, depression affects your mental health. Anxiety affects your mental health, right? Rejection, I think, affects your mental health. So you have many different things that contribute to your state of mind, which is your mental health, which affects your thinking, your life, your living. Everything about you is affected. So back in 2010, you know, um, at that time, my son was, oh God, he was about 10 or 11 years old. And single parent, don't need any pity, because as I shared my example with you from the accident, I don't even like the attention because of that thing that happened to me. And just to be quite honest, that accident was the third time that I had injuries to my head. Um, Meaning like not just bumping your head like on the wall or something. I'm talking about like you having to go to the emergency room kind of head trauma, right? So The first time it happened when I was 2. The first time was when I was 2. The second time happened, it was that same year, in 1985. And I had a concussion. No point in talking about that, but that's what happened. I have 2 scars. You can't see it now because the hat is covering up, but I have one scar like right here, and another one like you can see that one there. That's from the that's from the accident when I was hit by the drunk driver when I was 7. But I don't like pity because I feel like it's judgment because that's what it was for me growing up. Oh, you just want the attention and I mean, like, come on, can we have some empathy here? Why would I just want to be, the center of attention so y'all can criticize me? You think I like this? If I'm saying I'm in pain and I can't walk when I was 7, you know, or it's too much noise, or I'm just, whatever, I'm not doing it for attention. Anyway, so um, going back to 2010, I did not want to put myself in a position where I was needing to ask for help. But life presents circumstances, right? Where, I did it. And the one thing that I feared about asking for help is actually what happened, which I have to honestly learn how to not condemn myself for the choices that I made because I'm sure anybody, not just single parents, but anybody that has any type of responsibility, you make choices and decisions based on what you're dealing with, right? And you just hope that you're making the right choice. And in my case, for me and my son. So back in 2010, oh my God, it was just a lot of stuff going on. Um, it was a lot of stuff going on, and just to sum it up, single parent dealing with the school system, you know how it is when you're raising a son and you're a single parent, and the school system tends to want to label your child. So, not saying that, or when he's wrong, don't don't he doesn't deserve punishment. No, I'm a very fair person. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, if he's not wrong, I'm going to stand up for him. And I absolutely stood up for my son in the school system. And I did what I had to do, even if it meant pulling in the NAACP, because that's what I did. Because what you're not going to do is label my child. And a lot of times, they had to come back and apologize because I'm like, listen, what you're not going to do is treat me like I don't know how to study the laws and what the guidelines are, and understand how this train really is supposed to operate and hold you accountable for your mess. And I know how to talk and deal with people, right? So you're not going to play me. You're not going to play my son. Absolutely not. So I had to advocate for my son in the school system and dealing with that because that was heavy. It was heavy. And when I would call for support and or um, encouragement, it wasn't like, you got this, Jennifer, let's pray. Or even if it's not a let's pray kind of thing, it's um, you got this, Jennifer. Just something to encourage me because it was heavy. It was a lot. But what I did receive, when I would pick up the phone for that support, comfort, consolation, encouragement. Oh, you're going to be the cause for him to have to go through stuff because you don't know how to talk to people. Well, I do know how to talk to people, and there's a point I'll explain to you why I'm giving you all this detail in the end. So stay with me. And it was always judgment. It was always whatever idea of me that they had determined how they responded to me, and consequently how they communicated about me to my son. So they would say, "Oh, you don't know how to talk to people." Well, how do you know if I do or don't know how to talk to people? Is it because I'm always having to defend myself in your presence? So you're going to get some kickback from me because you're not going to continue to disrespect me. And you can't just talk to me any kind of way. Because for one, I'm human. For two, I am his mother. Only one. And why would you disrespect me? And then get upset when I stand up for myself. Plus, you don't visit me, so you don't know how I live. You only assume, judge, and criticize me, but you don't know enough about me to even offer a valid opinion about how I communicate in a business setting. All you do is judge and criticize me. Again, this is about my mental health because all I got was judgment. All that I received was criticism. Oh, it's going to be your fault. Well, let's see how it ended up. Every time I went in and advocated for my son, they had to fix whatever it was that they were trying to label him as. I mean, clear times that I could speak on where the school system dropped the ball. And I had to make sure my ducks were in a row so I can validate and verify that the school system dropped the ball. The teacher was labeling my son. The teacher was giving favoritism to other kids in the classroom. I was real surprised when I showed up that day when he was in high school and I sat there and I watched so I can verify what you're saying because I don't believe it. And I'm glad I didn't. But anyway, that's just an example of how I operate because they always label me as being this unhinged person that just flies off the cuff. No, you get kickback from me, pushback from me when I'm faced with disrespect, and I swallowed it for a long time because I didn't want what has happened to happen. So I felt as if I kept my mouth shut, if I didn't push the envelope, if I didn't hold them accountable, if I didn't remind them or tell them that what you're doing is not good. We're not talking about the manipulated version. We're talking about the clear-cut truth of it in black and white, right? So going back to 2010, it was a lot. It was a lot. Then you know how it is when you're a single parent and you have one source of income, right? Don't look for pity. That's just the reality of what it was, right? I didn't graduate college when I went right after high school for a reason that I shared in a previous video. So feel free to go back and watch that video on this page, on this channel. But I was always able, because I've always been very business minded. I love working with numbers, And I was thinking back to the year, I think it was like 2001, 2, or 3, one of those years. Um, I got a job working at a property management company. Never worked in business before, never worked in business, finance, or accounting before, but I was always good with numbers. Always good with numbers. And so I got a job working in accounting. No training, no prior education in accounting because again, I didn't graduate college. And when I was in college, I was studying nursing. So, but I was still good with numbers. So I got this job and it just clicked. The lady that I was working under, we had developed a certain rapport on the job, and she said, I want you to do this, and this is how you do it. And I did it. I never had an issue with learning accounting, reconciliations, all of that stuff with accounting, coding, and all of that stuff. It just came to me, but I needed help. It wasn't enough. And it happens, everyone doesn't automatically come out of high school or college and start out making 67, $80,000. You have to go through some form of training. And I didn't graduate college, but I could do what I could do. And I did. But I needed help. I wasn't getting any other support. So I was dealing with, um, I guess the only way to say it is just to say it. My landlord at that time, they had a faulty accounting system. And every month, my rent kept going up. Every month. What is it me? Then I know I paid my rent for last month, but how come my rent going up? My lease didn't say my rent was going to go up every month, but it did. So easy fix, right? Just go to the landlord. However, at that time in my life, I felt like I was going crazy. I'll explain. Because at that time, I was dealing with the judgment, the criticism, being ridiculed, because I am very, very frugal. Okay? I don't mind wearing the same clothes as long as I can fit them. If I can fit the same shirt from 1995 to 2000, I'm going to wear that shirt till it gets a hole in it. Or, I just can't fit it anymore. And I don't mind shopping at thrift stores. Or, my point is this, I don't have to have new stuff all of the time, right? And when I do shop, I'm going to hit a clearance rack before anything. My philosophy is if it's in the store, they're going to mark it down. So why would I pay full price? If it's there when they mark it down, that means it's for me. What God has for me, it is for me. That's just how I operate. So, and as a single parent, I couldn't afford to always go out and buy, just buy, just buy. I don't live like that anyway. As long as I have clothes in my closet, I don't have to go out and buy new stuff all the time. It's just for what? So I'm very, very frugal, very conscious of my money. I don't have to, I don't need expensive stuff. I need to stop kicking my table here, but that's just who I am, even to this day, 2021, right? That's just me. So I was dealing with judgment and criticism about the clothes that I wore. Remember, I'm a single parent. I do it all, you know, carpool, take him to school, go to, I was the room parent when he was in elementary school, very active in his education, when he was doing Boy Scouts, when he was playing basketball at the YMCA, I was just doing it. So when I would go, out of town where everyone was at, I may take me a nap, of course. Because when you're tired, what do? Ask for permission to take a nap? Nah, sis, we ain't going through all that. I'm just going to fall asleep. But why are you always sleeping? Why you always wearing that same shirt? You ain't got no new shoes yet? Nope. At that time, I was in a certain size, and I said, well, if you that concerned about me wearing the same shirt every year, all the time, go to the store. I don't mind getting stuff off the clearance rack. Go buy me something. Why am I always criticized? How about, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Why you look like that? How come you always wearing that same? So I got that all the time. So when I tell you I felt like I was going crazy, that has something to do with it. Then to add the fact that I couldn't figure out why I couldn't stay caught up on my rent. Now, I know I said they had a faulty accounting system. That's what I found out after the fact. I was in my condo for like 7, almost 8 years. And it wasn't until year 6, closer to year 7, that I found that out. Like right before I moved out. That's when I figured it out. Because even though I was able to work in accounting and did very, very, very well without any prior education in it, I decided, well, you know what? I can get a better paying job because I was struggling. I can get a better paying job if I get me a degree. So that's what I did. I was working 40 hours a week, in school full time, still being a mom, not really taking care of myself. Because in my mind, after I left the ex husband, my focus was my child. I didn't want to date. For what? I'll be honest. Like I said before, I did date 2 guys. Like right after I left my ex husband, the ex husband. And I didn't like the way they treated my son. He was like 2 or 3 years old. So I'm like, listen, I'm not, because what I'm not going to do is have you mistreating my child. So I can be by myself. I'm fine. Had my baby. We can get together and have a good time and take him and do whatever I wanted to do with him. I was satisfied. I didn't need to date. So, so back in 2010, it was um it was heavy for me because I was dealing with the criticism, the judgment, when I would have to deal with the school system, the judgment, the criticism when I would go where everyone was at, the judgment, the criticism. Why can't they just treat me with some dignity and respect? Why do they always have to take their little tweezers and find anything that they want to judge me about and judge me about it? Not behind closed doors, right in front of my child. And I would say, can y'all stop this? Because not just that it's bothering me, because I'd grown accustomed to the criticism. It was like I had learned how to function with it. Because if you tell somebody that what they're doing is hurting you and they don't see a need to change, that means they don't see it, they're not going to change. And I have to be okay with that. So, but it had created a different dynamic um, when I had my son that I have spoken about previously in prior videos. Check any of them out because it's about the truth, freedom and truth. And it's about stopping these unhealthy patterns, these toxic patterns that we know how to mask to make it look and appear as if everything is okay. That's why I said in the beginning, you can never judge a book by its cover. Because you can dress this up and make it look good any day of the week. But this in here, that's the truth about who you are. So back in 2010, it was a lot. And then I had left the property management company when the controller who trained me, she moved to another company to be their to be the CPA, excuse me, at another company. So once she left, she called me and said, "Well, listen, I need an assistant. I know you're good. I taught you this and you caught right on and you can do this and you can do this. Come work for me." They offer benefits over here. So I'm like, whoo, yes. So I did. So it was a little extra money, so that was great. But as I was started working there after a couple of years, I'm like, I'm not getting no increase. I'm just working my fingers to the bone. I said, let me get my degree. So that way, and there was nowhere for me to grow with the company that I had went to after the controller left. So I went back to school. Like I said, I was working 40 hours a week in school full time, sometimes up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to finish my assignments. Get up, couple hours of sleep, and start all over. But all I got was criticism and judgment. I felt like I was losing my mind because I'm like, well, hold on. You expect strangers and people that don't know you and have no emotional connection with you to maybe treat you a certain way. But other people, you when they do it, I'm like, well, why? And if I'm telling you it's hurting me, why won't you stop? So I kept in that vein of re-engaging myself and not always standing up for myself, because even in those moments when I did do that, they'd always flip it. And when they flipped it, what really happened, they would go and tell my youngin about the flipped version that made them look like I was just the one that flies off the handle at them for no reason, which is not the truth. So I felt like I was going crazy. Still working, still serving in ministry, still going to church, still taking him to his activities, still getting up every day and making it do what it do. But I felt like I was going crazy. So once that the issue with the rent kept reoccurring. I'm like, and once I got my foot in the door as far as studying business education, not business education, business finance, and accounting, I said, well, let me find out. Pull my ledger. Found out I wasn't crazy. They had a faulty accounting system. So for about 7 or 8 years, they were padding my account with charges. They wouldn't fix it. To this day, that landlord owes me over $5,000, $5,400, $5,400, $5,474.72. I have the proof of it. How come you didn't pursue it? Well, I'll answer that question for you. It's too much going on. I didn't have the mental capacity because the pattern of them instigating stuff with my son, it'll be better over here because I am frugal. Because I told my son, I don't do Jordans. For what? His dad will send him Jordans. I'm not buying that stuff because I'm just not going to do that. We didn't, I'm just not going to do certain things. because I'm like, what's the point? He would go to Carowinds, basic stuff like that. But as far as a whole bunch of extravagant spending, nope, it's not gonna do it. Labels, don't have to have labels. He dressed decently, and I did too, even though I was judged for how I dressed, right? But anyway, so it was a lot because the landlord. So it was a lot of stuff. Then on my job, was working my fingers to the bone, not, and I was dealing with um, being overworked. Um, I was the only black person in the office, so you can just about imagine what that was like. I was overworked, underpaid, got one raise out of the 7 years that I was there. I ain't even gonna tell you how much it was, but it wasn't $1. It wasn't 50 cents. It was actually much less than 50 cents. Dealing with sexual harassment on the job, racism on the job, heard the word nigger. Oh, dumb niggers. And I'm the only black person in the office. Imagine that. So it was very stressful. Feeling, um, dealing with rejection because I was seeing social media posts about birthday parties and birthday dinners. And I'm like, well, how come I'm not there? How come I'm not given that option to say I want to or don't want to? Oh, well, we didn't invite you because you never have money to come. Thanks. So I was dealing with a lot. School system, bills, the stuff on my job. Once I started in school. No, let me take that back. In 2010, I hadn't started school. I didn't start school until 2013. So in 2010, I was dealing with everything with the job, my son, and the school system. Not my son, but the school system. You know, um, this stuff being judged and criticized, and that pattern just building, compounding every moment, just more and more and more criticism. Trying to understand, like, why am I being treated like this? It's your fault. If you want to come and if you want to be a part of what we're doing, you have to come to where we are. What's wrong with Winston-Salem? What's wrong with my house? What's wrong with where I live? So I was dealing with a lot. So, and every time I would reach out for support, or sometimes all you need is somebody to listen to you. So even when I would reach out for that purpose, I was still faced with criticism and judgments. I'm like, well, when can I? And I maxed out. I had maxed out. There were some other things that had happened that contributed to my state of mind that I will not get into, but it was a lot because it just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, I'm taking care of my child. I am working a legit job. The last time I worked a minimum wage job was when I was in high school. Let me take that back. When I first, um, once I graduated high school and I was working, right after I had my son, that was the last time I had a minimum wage job. So I was legit working. I mean, a legit job. I was serving in ministry. I was, just dotting as many I's and crossing as many T's that I could. Just doing what I could to handle my business. Supporting my son and being there for him and helping him in school and advocating for him in school. And all this time, I had this I didn't have that extra, well, I'm not going to say extra, but when I would reach out for support, emotional support, just give me that, Jenna, you got this. Don't tell me I got it. I'm gonna fix this. Don't tell me, Jen, you got this. And then behind my back, you speaking negatively about me to my child. Because that affects my house. And that affects him. And that affects me. So it was a lot. It was a lot, a lot. And I want to say it was I didn't find out about the faulty accounting system that my landlord had until about 2 or 3 years later. Once I got my started studying accounting and business finance. So I didn't understand why I just couldn't stay up on my rent. So I'm like, am I going crazy? And I would have the proof, like the cashier's receipts. You know, you get the cashier checks, the receipts. Like I got proof. Why is my rent going up every month? 50, 60, 80, $100. Why does well you got these extra fees on your account? Like for what? Y'all don't do anything to keep this place up. And it wasn't a rundown place. It was a very, very, very nice condo. So it wasn't like I had to call for maintenance repairs. And then they would put maintenance repair fees on my. It was just a lot. Like I don't even call y'all. What you doing? So back in 2010, it was a lot, and I had maxed out. It's like way to go, and the way it's supposed to be done. It's all over here, over there, and you try to understand it and make sense of it. And I was dealing with the weight of all of that. So one day, hmm, one day I just had enough. I was at work and had went to my supervisor, the lady that had brought me to the company, and I expressed my concerns about being overworked. Remember, I'm the only in the office, the only one. I guess I was talking to a brick wall because nothing ever changed. So about me being overworked and no one else in the office pulling their weight, and in the back of my mind, how come I ain't got no raise? I'm doing all this extra work. You're supposed to be rewarding your faithful workers. What's up with that? Not really wanting to push it because I didn't want to lose my job because I had to work, right? And I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed my job. And but that one day I had enough. I I couldn't think of any reason in my mind. I rationalized why everything would be okay without me. Yeah. I knew I had my child to think about, and I did. But my mind I was so not confused. I would say confused. My thinking was completely distorted as it pertains to how things were supposed to be. New mother. This was my first child. And to this day, my only child. I don't want no more. I'm good. And I'm too old to have any more children. But not because I saw how things were, the consistency and me being criticized. And I'm feeling less than because I'm always left out. Then they say, well, it's your fault that you were left out. We left you out because, and they'll come up with some reason as to why they left me out. I'm like, well, this is negatively impacting him too. Because he's missing his cousins. And, well, it's still your fault. Part of me believed it was my fault that they mistreated me. So then that put me in this pattern of always trying to prove myself to them. So for years, I was doing things to prove myself to be. So when we would get together where they were at and wanted to go out to eat, and I'm like, well, listen, I'm letting y'all know now, I ain't got it like that. Because I got to, one, put gas in my car to get to where y'all at. There were at least once in 2009, I had it when I broke my foot on crutches. Got in my car and went to where they were. 2011, back surgery. I had a ruptured disc in my back. Recovering from that. Oh, you want to come and be a part of this? You got to come to where we at. But I would say I ain't got no extra cash to be going to no Applebee's, and we can go to McDonald's. I let my baby eat, but all right, girl, come on, we got you. Okay. Get there. And they got me. Why you always asking her to us such and such to pay for you? You wrong. Okay, I suggested we go to the grocery store. I could buy something from the grocery store. That way we can all eat. And it's cheaper. Save you money, but we still accomplishing the purpose of eating together. But I was always beat on. Yeah, Jennifer, it's your fault. It's your fault. Shoot me for trying. So, all of that. Feeling like, can't win for losing. The landlord didn't understand in 2010 that they had a faulty accounting system. Can't step on my rent. I know 1+1 is 2. I'm good with math. Hello. I always been good with numbers and math. But I couldn't figure that thing out. It stressed me out. So, dealing with rejection from them, not understanding why, I was habitually treated like I didn't matter, like I wasn't a part of them. And not knowing what I could have been doing to deserve to be treated the way that they were treated. This didn't make sense. So I was in a very, very, very fragile state of mind. Dealing with the racism at work, the prejudice, subtle racism. Of course, they can't be as bold with it back then. They're a little bit like that now, but back then, feeling overworked, underpaid, feeling less than, dealing with the school system, trying to find my footing, trying to maintain my footing. And I said, I can't do it no more. I was tired. And I had started, um, I was ready to end it all. I'll say it like that. I was ready to end it all because I was tired. My son, I figured that They wanted his mind. They wanted him to. They were so determined and remain determined and they were determined even then, not sugarcoating anything, but just calling it what it is. Come over here with us. Your mama can't do it. If your mama would do it the way we're telling her to do it, even though the way that I was doing it was working, I don't need you to tell me what to do. I need you to respect me and mind your business. I don't need your unsolicited advice. When I ask for it, give it to me, but don't say if I don't do it your way, it ain't gonna work. That's manipulation and control. That's exactly what that is. And what you're not gonna do is manipulate me and tell me how to raise my son because he ain't yours. God gave him to me for a reason. Because God knew that I am well equipped and was well equipped and still am well equipped to help that young man reach his destiny. But I'm going to put a pin here. I'm going to put a pin here and say this. The enemy don't mind who he uses. He uses any vessel like God uses us. The enemy uses us for bad. It don't matter who. Whoever is vulnerable to the devil, he'll use them. So that day, I was tired. I was frustrated. I was burdened down. I felt like it would never, ever change. I knew that. In my heart and mind on that day, like this ain't never gonna get better. And what am I here for? They'll much rather have my son thinking that I'm a bad mother. Like I can't boil an egg and make deviled eggs right or something. There's some truth to that. That was a random example, but not saying I can't cook with deviled eggs, but that's something else too. That would always you can't cook right. Get a hobby, cause anyway. So that day I maxed out. I was frustrated, and I started popping pills. I got to work that morning, and I had cried for like the first hour. Like legit, just bawling at my desk, just bawling. I had to answer the phone, you know, off and on. So I'm taking breaks from crying, but I'm like, this is not cool for me. Because again, I was still overworked, underpaid, and everything else, right? So I remember when I left work that day, I was popping them 5 at a time. What pills? There were some pills, um, like some pain pills. Not like no heavy narcotics or nothing. It was just like Tylenol stuff, but it was something that I had got um from Dollar General. Because remember I'm frugal. So it was like an off brand kind of Tylenol-ish kind of pill. It was like little red pills. But I was popping them 5 at a time. I'm like, listen, mama don't care. They'll raise my son. I didn't care. I love my son. But the weight of it all, don't misinterpret what I'm saying. The weight of it all. I felt hopeless. I felt helpless. The frustration, the 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 degree of frustration that I was in. And I'm going to tell you this. Typically, when I would get to work, I would Pandora music. I would put on Pandora music and do Kurt Franklin Station or Donnie McClurkin or something like that. So I'm listening to that all throughout the day to permeate the atmosphere on my job, right? Needed that. That's what I would normally do. But that day, I didn't even turn my worship music on because the worship music, it helps me stay focused. When I was overwhelmed and I would have those feelings of being overwhelmed and helpless and all of that, the worship music would always bring me back. But that day, I was so just like somebody had just took some cylinder blocks and put them here, one on each shoulder, and I was just waiting there like. So, um, crying all day, bawling all day, I was there, and I left work that day. That's how come I know God's hand is on my life because I took all those pills. I left work, went to go pick up my son from school. Um, but just before I got on the highway, my roommate called me. Hadn't talked to my roommate in years. She said those 3 words, and I knew she meant it. It broke me down. It broke me down in a good way. So you never know how your kind words can help somebody else. But she didn't know. She didn't know what I was dealing with because I had honestly had not spoken to her in years. Years. And she just called me out the blue. Legit. And I just kept that did something else to me. Um so she was like, Jennifer, go to the hospital. Go to the hospital. So I picked my son up from I didn't go to the hospital right then because by the time I picked up my son, he got in the car. He knew something was wrong. What was wrong? And I couldn't talk. I still had my roommate on the phone, but I couldn't talk. I just kept crying. What? And I'm like, I'm fine, I'm fine. He knew I wasn't fine because I just kept crying. I got home and I popped 5 more pills because I looked at my son and I felt like I was a disappointment to my son. The weight of everything. Because I knew that I had people in his ear talking about what I couldn't do. People that shouldn't be putting negative things in his head about me. People that should not in any way be instigating drama between me and my son, but they were doing it. I never knew what they said to him because I was never on the phone with them, clearly. But I know the stuff they were saying to me that condemned and judged me, their judgment and criticism of me. So I can only imagine what they were saying to him. But got home and I think I had stopped counting at 30. I'd taken 30 pills. Anyway, so I ended up going to the hospital and took myself to the emergency room. And a friend of mine came and picked up Elijah because they had to admit me. Um, run tests to make sure none of my organs were malfunctioning or anything. And again, I'm not saying this is okay to do, not in any way. I'm just sharing with you my journey. And how so you can see my journey, my state of mind, how to identify certain things in yourself, how not to treat other people because you don't know how it is affecting. When you're toxic and judgmental and critical and you are just a negative person and you're toxic, you don't know how that is affecting the next person. Everybody doesn't have the ability to just brush their shoulder and walk off and be done with it. It can really damage people when you do this, when you have this kind of behavior, which is why I'm very, very, very clear and honest about what happened. And even when I have made bad choices, because you don't know. It may make you feel or I don't understand why. It will make you feel good to treat people bad. But sometimes people get some kind of sick and sadistic satisfaction from being able to manipulate and control. That's not godly. That is not godly. There's nowhere in the Bible where he commands us as people, Christians, where he says that is the correct way to treat people. So I was in the hospital over, I think, for a day and a half. It wasn't long. It wasn't 2 whole days. Like the day I was admitted, um, that evening, which was after work. Then the next day I was there all day. Then I was discharged the following day. So like 2 days, but like a half a day, then a whole day, then a half a day. And so when I got home, picked up my son from school, I was just so relieved, happy to be alive. The doctors, the nurses told me, they said, there's nothing wrong with you. Your kidneys are fine. They gave me some Benadryl. Kidneys are fine. Nothing in your body is out of whack. I was just I felt so blessed. So when I got home that day, the doctor said, Jennifer, you make sure when you go home, you rest. You got somebody that can um take care of your son. My son is in high school, he'll probably cook me dinner, in which he does. He did do that, he would cook me dinner sometimes. And good food too. But when I got home that evening, I had put on Facebook when I was waiting for my ride to come pick me up from the hospital. I did a quick post being discharged from the hospital. The devil thought he had me, but I'm a winner or something like that. I hadn't talked to nobody else, but I put that on Facebook because that's my business. And so by the time I got home, I got a phone call. How come you didn't tell us you was in the hospital? I said, listen, I understand. I can't talk about it right now. The doctor told me to come home and rest. Rest my body, rest my mind. Once I get myself together, I will call you and tell you what happened. But you told this other particular person, which I didn't. But you told this other particular person, and why you do that? And this person is this role in your life, and how come you told this person and you didn't tell me and you didn't tell us? But I hadn't told nobody. I mean, I put it on Facebook, but as far as why I was in the hospital, nobody knew. Y'all know. But at that time, nobody knew because I hadn't told nobody. The person that came to pick me up, I told her because she bought me some clean clothes. So she would know where to bring my clothes. My pastor knew. One of the church members that worked in the unit, she knew, but I hadn't told nobody. But they, always ugh, come out with their things like, you told this particular person, and how come you told this particular person and you didn't tell us? But I hadn't told nobody. Well, yes, you did, because this person told that person. Can you at least respect what I said? Regardless of who you think I've already told, I just told you that the doctors told me to rest. And I will call you and explain to you what happened once I get myself together. Hung up the phone. Because at this point, I'm just like, listen, this is one of the reasons why I was popping them pills, and I need y'all to pump the brakes. So I decided to call my son. So all of this, none of this is good for anybody's mental health. To be constantly told that when someone mistreats me, when I'm constantly told it's my fault. No, sweetheart, how you treat me is a reflection of you, not me. When you're mean to me and you lie on me and you manipulate situations to paint yourself as being better than me, that's your problem, not mine. I'm not going to have to answer to God for what anybody does but me. But again, just to go back to one of my initial statements, your mental health is so important. When you deal with people that are manipulative, I had grown so accustomed to sitting in what I was dealt, meaning how they were how I was consistently being treated, and it kept happening even after. So let me make it plain. There were short periods of reprieve. In other words, oh yeah, we're gonna get together and we're gonna hang out. And then there will be this extended period of toxicity and situations being instigated and it being said, well, it's her fault that she is mishandled. No, it's not my fault that you mistreat. It is not my fault that you choose to lie on me. It is not even my fault that you think what you think of me. It's interesting because a lot of people who know me refer to me as my son's mother. For a long time, people didn't know my name, and I'm cool with that because I am his mother. It wasn't offensive to me. They don't even refer to me as his mother. I don't even get that respect. I don't. And my heart's desire in this journey that I'm on um, is for the truth to be told, which is why I name my channel Freedom and Truth. You shall know the truth so you can be free. When you don't know the truth about stuff, you live a life of bondage and you're not able to spread your wings and fly. or go as high or achieve as much in life that you possibly could if you were not in bondage. And when you don't know the truth about stuff, you are in bondage, either willingly or unwillingly. The worst thing to do is to continue in unhealthy patterns. Then you get a reprobate mind, meaning that when you know to do right and don't do it, and you just develop a habit of doing that wrong thing, you think that's right. Look up the word reprobate. I'll provide some information about this in my along with this video. But my objective is to educate people about this thing called mind control. When someone has your mind, they have control over you. And this is of utmost importance to me because I am a Christian, because I do believe in the Word of God. The Bible tells us about how in the end times, men will be lovers of themselves. They'll be seeking out their own objective. There's one translation that talks about how deceiving, how a spirit of deception will come on the earth. And if you're privy to what's going on in politics now, that's evidence that that is what's going on. How people it'll be easier for people to believe lies because it gets worse and worse. Read that's in the book of 2 Timothy 3:14. I've shared this scripture in previous videos as well because it's serious and I'm very passionate about this. And my testimony is proof. I love my son, and I don't know any other way to deal with this than to do it in this manner because I'm blocked. And when I am mishandled, they say it's my fault. I can't make people change. Remember this, that when people can't control you, they'll try to control how other people see you. It's a hard journey, but I know that in the end, there's no power on this earth that is stronger than the power of our Almighty God. So I rest in knowing that it's going to work for my good. And so I encourage you, if you don't know who Jesus Christ, if you don't know him as your Lord and Savior, to accept him in your heart just by simply saying, God, I surrender to you. Find you a pastor that teaches the word of God, teaches you how to walk in hope, to how to walk and live a righteous life, how to walk out your salvation. It's a day-to-day, it's a day-to-day journey because things happen. Everyone is not going to be godly and Christ-like, even those that are Christians, because everyone has their issues that they're dealing with. And there's nothing wrong with saying that you are wrong for mistreating people. The worst thing to do is to continue to mistreat people and then tell the person that you are mistreating that he or she is responsible for what you do. I believed that for a long time. And I felt like I had to keep doing things to prove myself so my son could see, Elijah, there's nothing wrong with your mom. There's nothing wrong with me. I can't control what people do, how they treat me. So I hope that you all have learned something um, about this. Again, I know I'm taking a risk. I share my testimony, but my endeavor and my heart's desire is for someone to take some truth, to take my truth and learn from it. Don't go around hurting people. When you have issues, deal with your issues. Be man or woman enough to say, I've done wrong, and fix it. It's only going to make you better. Duh. That's not being disrespectful to anyone, but it's the truth. It's a basic principle in life. It's called growth and being mature. Owning up to your mess and being willing to admit, yeah, I messed up, and fix it. Don't keep doing it. Fix it. So I hope that you all have learned something. Again, I'm going to try my hardest to be more diligent in in posting these videos. This one is an hour, almost an hour and a half. But again, you have to be willing to do the work. This is my way. This is my way of doing the work. Because for years I would go through these patterns of not having an outlet. And I would be so consumed and live kind of figuratively speaking in a box because it did affect my self-esteem. It did affect my level of confidence, which in turn affected my drive because I knew that there was um, so much counter influence going on in my home. And I felt like if I address it, they just gonna manipulate it, which is exactly what has happened. So even when I didn't address it, the same thing happened. So it's more important for me that the truth be told for the sole purpose of the truth being told. As adults, we have to be responsible for our actions and understand that even adults have to face consequences. Clearly, you speed, you get a ticket. You show up late for work, you're going to be written up. You don't pay your bills on time, you suffer the consequences. You don't manage your money properly, you suffer the consequences. Right? It's a basic principle. So I hope that you were able to pull some nuggets from this and understand that you can't control how people treat you. And don't let anyone try to convince you that you are responsible for their actions because you're not. No more than I'm responsible for how I'm treated. I have to keep love in my heart for these people. You know, I have, I think I've done pretty good with that. I've had some moments where I was pulled out of character, but even in that, okay, I cannot put myself in a position where I'm pulled out of character again. And I've had to, the Bible said the wisdom is the principal thing. Get you some wisdom. It'll save your life, help you out, especially your mental stability. And again, when we talk mental health, that don't mean you crazy or that just means that there are things that affect your mind that are not good. And in some cases, your influence in the people that are around you can have a very negative impact on your mental health. But you have to learn how to deal with it in a healthy way. And for me, this is my healthy way. Talk about it, get it out, share my strengths with you as well as my weaknesses. Because I have fallen. I have been pulled out of character. I've said some things that I probably shouldn't have said before. So, um, I just hope. So again, I just hope that you all have learned something and can take something from this, and just do better. Because it really costs us more in the long run to um, sow seeds of discord and lie and manipulate, because that stuff always comes back. Um, so it's better to do the work and just be honest than to continue along unhealthy cycles. So remember that you're responsible for you. I can't determine how you treat me no more than you can determine how I treat you. Be honest about yourself, look in the mirror, trust the process, and stay dedicated and remain committed to the process so you can become better. All right. Until next time, listen, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I promise I'm going to do my best to be more diligent and uploading to my channel so we can stay connected. And after you subscribe, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I do another upload. Until next time, be good to yourself.